Calcio FC headquarters. We are back, David, Dan and Emmet here in London. We're going to talk about everything Serie A in the pre-season, including who might win, European places, newly promoted sides, players to look out for, teams to look out for, but we're going to kick it off with the 8 remaining coaches, fellas. So maybe Dan, I'll go to you first. One of the coaches in particular we want to talk about is Antonio Conte and Napoli.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Mourinho, when he was at Chelsea in 2015, said that if you stand still in football, you go backwards. And he's right. And Napoli have not stood still. They can't stand still under Antonio Conte. I think Conte's got a lot of credit in the bank from last season. They might have won the league, as you're pointing out now, very subtly.
Did Napoli win the league?
You'll have to ask him. I'm not too sure, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Nobody really talked about it, though.
San Diego.
No,
grazie.
David, no, that's for sure.
No.
It's got...
Who won it? Sorry, go on.
Are you talking about Serie B? Sassuolo did.
Good old Nero Verdi, your favourite. So go on.
Yeah.
All right, Conte. Let's get back to Conte.
Let's get back to Conte, yeah. It's got a huge challenge this season because I think the Napoli are the favourites to win the league again. You know, the teams don't really repeat. They don't really win titles back-to-back in Italy. Napoli have to be the favourites, and he's got a huge pressure on his shoulders because he's got European football. Conte likes a lot of things. European football is not one of the things he likes.
I'll put this question to Emmet then. If it was Inter Milan or Juventus winning last season, yes, back-to-back would be the talk of the town. I feel it's a little bit cliche to think that Napoli are that kind of club with the history they've got, which is not a winning history. Yes, 2 in the last 3 years. But they don't have that dynasty history. They've never won back-to-back. So I'll put it to you. Can they do it with Antonio Conte?
Well, I think that's what they're aiming for. And I think that's one of the reasons why Conte did decide to remain. De Laurentiis said, look, I will give you the players that you want to retain the title. Something that Diego could never do. Obviously, Luciano Spalletti walked away after the 2023 title.
Is Conte better than Spalletti?
As a coach?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Miles better.
Miles better.
So how many points do you think Spalletti got Napoli that season when they won in 2023 compared to Conte? Because I think we said in a pod a few months back, if you haven't, go and watch it, our Napoli pod with Antonio Conte towards the end of the season. I think we said 20 points.
I think we said between 10 and 20.
I think you said 20. I was about 12, and I think we decided somewhere in the middle. But still, what about Spalletti? Are we talking he got them 10 points? Were they just unbelievable that season?
I think he got them to perform at the best of their abilities. Conte's got them to be more than the sum of their parts. If you ask me to quantify, I'll say Spalletti got them probably 6.
Yeah, because
6, 8 points.
Better team then.
Yeah,
they had a better team.
They had a better team.
Okay. Not just necessarily a better team. I think there is an element of there was a novelty factor to Napoli at the time. Osimhen was in his pomp. Kvaratskhelia, no one really knew what to expect from him. It was a known quantity. With Conte, it was different because he picked them up and they were an absolute rabble.
And players wanted to leave. Players were leaving. Kvara was begging to leave. Osimhen was already gone.
No, exactly. And also, you got to remember that Conte came on board and he rocked the boat 2 weeks after being on board. He basically said, these players aren't good enough. This team isn't good enough, And he accepted that, we finished 10th last season. If you finish 10th, you're not a good team. It's as simple as that.
Right. Well, so we've established Conte. Is he the best coach in the league?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
even more so now that Inzaghi is left.
Okay, so one of 8 remaining coaches. So we're not going to talk about Simone Inzaghi because Christian Fu's taken his place. Good old Kivu is back in Milan. But we do have Igor Tudor at Juventus. Emmet, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, I mean, he impressed, in the second half of last season. He took over in the March. And while he's not a tactical savant, he understands Juve, understands the club. The cliche, he knows the club. Tudor was one of them. He was an ex-Juve player, late 90s, early 2000s. And the most important thing is that he's actually utilising players in their proper positions. Thiago Motta marginally would put players not in the right positions, almost to prove a point that the system was king and I can just put a player in and he'll perform.
It's all about me.
Yeah, exactly. So Tudor's just right, back to basics. You're a left winger, you play in the left wing. You're a midfielder, you play in midfield. And Juve did okay at the FIFA World Club Cup and they basically decided to give him, right, we'll give you the job for a year and a half. We'll see how you do. Juve's problem this season that they haven't really bought any new players, which is a hangover from basically spending over 200 million last summer, and they can't offload a lot of the deadwood. But I think Tudor will do okay. I don't expect Juve to win the league, but they're still good enough to finish top 4.
Sad to see Timothy Weah depart.
Yeah.
Okay.
A big departure.
The tattoo, you'll have to get that removed. Let's move on. So the only giant that we've got that with a remaining coach, and he was an interim coach, that's become their manager, is Igor Tudor in Juventus. Then there's Conte, reigning champions, in charge of Napoli. No one expected it. No one saw it really coming. They're able to get over Inter because Inter's petrol kind of ran out towards the end of the season. But then we've got Vincenzo Italiano at Bologna. So these other 6 that we're about to mention are in charge of mid-sized clubs, mid-table to lower table, even newly promoted. So Vincenzo Italiano at Bologna, Cesc Fabregas at Como, Costa Runjajic at Udinese, Patrick Vieira at Genoa, Paolo Zanetti at Hellas, and Fabio Grosso at Sassuolo. So what are we to make of these other 6?
Well, of those 6 you just mentioned, Italiano is probably the one with the most pressure, which I know sounds counterintuitive because he took Bologna to a first trophy in 50-odd years last season. But I do wonder whether there is a case of like a glass ceiling complex that we're reaching here, because Bologna went to Champions League with Thiago Motta, played sparkling football. Italiano took over last season. They struggled the first 2 months. I think they won one of their first 10 games or something like that. And then they click into it again, a completely different style of football. Italiano did an amazing job there. They go and win the Coppa Italia. They just miss out almost on a Champions League spot. But you look at that summer, and I know the clubs like Bologna are used to like lose players to, in inverted commas, bigger clubs. They lost Calafiori, they lost Joshua Zirkzee to last summer, and they barely skipped a beat after that. But at some point, you can only sell players for so long.
And now Ndoye's gone, Bergkamp's
and now
gone.
Ndoye's, and Lukumi might move into Sunderland. Yeah.
They've already turned over 80 million euros.
They have.
Emmet.
I think it comes to a point where, a sort of having money in the bank doesn't win you points, if you know what I mean.
You can't continually sell your best players summer after summer and aim for the top 6.
Correct.
It's either one or the other.
Napoli, I beg to differ. I think Bologna are following Napoli's model. I think we've spoken about this before, probably written about it on destination.calcio.com as well. Bologna had that model, and I think they've won their Coppa Italia after 8 years of the new ownership. Napoli did it, 11 years after the new ownership with Saputo. Napoli was 8 years after the new ownership with De Laurentiis. So they're not that far off, and they've got that same model where they get these players cheap, 8 million for Bergkamp, for example, sell him for 30 to Napoli. Napoli have kind of they've evolved from what Bologna are now into more of a superpower. They're still not one of the big 3 with unlimited funds. They had to be smart and intelligent to get to the status where they are. Hopefully the roof doesn't fall on us, guys. This is something from above. But yes, I think Bologna are still in that. They know that players want to leave. Osimhen wanted to leave Napoli. I mean, they were champions. Spalletti wanted to leave. He didn't want to stay and have to handle the pressure. Osimhen even thought he was going to go to PSG. He ended up at Galatasaray. Kvaratskhelia, they follow the money, these guys. And some of these other players are doing so. We all know the Premier League has the funds. And Ndoye goes to Nottingham Forest. So this is what they're dealing with.
Yeah, there is an element of that, sure. And I completely agree with you that, you tend to become a victim of your own success. Napoli were to an extent, you say losing Osimhen, losing Kvaratskhelia. But the problem I think with Bologna is that it's like, you look at the Premier League, you look at the likes of Brighton and Brentford, they've been punching above their weight, they're perfectly run clubs. But at some point, you run out of treadmill, if you know what I mean. It's hard to keep, because you can find gems in lower leagues or abroad.
And that's what they're doing.
And that's what they do. But not every time you find the gem, they can hit the ground running.
Oh, absolutely. And Napoli found out the hard way as well.
Yeah. And for example, you're looking at Brentford this season, they're going to be struggling because they've sold all the best players and they haven't brought in enough players who can replace them. And I'm a bit worried about Bologna. I'm not saying they're going to finish, they're going to be in a fight to avoid the relegation. But I just do wonder whether Italiano's got another season of improving them, because realistically, the next step for them is be regulars in the Champions League. And you're not going to do that unless you keep hold of some of your best players.
Well, okay, they have kept a lot of their team. And Emmet, I'll throw to you. Immobile's there. Pobegga's still there. Benedeschi's back. in Serie A. So these aren't okay. Before you scoff, you're ex-Juventino, but still, Bernardeschi has international experience. He can bring something. He's not that old. He's what 29, 30 years old.
But he's played in Canada for the past
3 years or
for
2
the
years.
MLS.
What do you make of the Saudi guys that go over to the Saudi league?
No,
They're still decent players. I mean, but he comes back, he offers something, and he may need to feel his way in. But Bologna, they've turned over 80 million and they've only spent 25. And for the second year running, they're going to try and turn a profit. They did spend a lot of money to get to where they are. If you look at previous seasons, there were seasons where they went and spent 100 million and then didn't turn over much at all. And now they're trying to make that back, establish themselves, get a tradition of finishing in the top half of the table, and they will attract players that are maybe looking for a second chance, like your Immobiles, like your Bernardeschi's, or up-and-coming players that want to go to a club with ambition. I think Bologna's got ambition. That's why they've got Vincenzo Italiano as well. So I think they're doing okay. What do you think?
It's difficult because if I look at Bologna, I don't see Immobile being Immobile of old. If he gets 15 goals, I'll be highly impressed.
He is Immobile of old right now.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, age-wise, 36, 37.
Yeah, he is Immobile. But I do think, I agree with Dan. I do think it will be difficult for Bologna to repeat what they did last season. I think the Europa League is a perfect competition for them because they're not good enough for the Champions League. I think Europa League's perfect. They could make a deep run. But I think, obviously, we still have time before the end of the window. If they make a few moves, bring in a couple of more players, maybe make a leap in quality, then they could repeat last season. But I think, and I also put Atalanta in this as well, I don't think they will be as good as last season.
Sorry, just on Immobile, I've got a real problem with Serie A now treating players who are well in their 30s or almost 40s in Modric's case as like statement signings. Yeah, no. There is a reason why Luka Modrić is AC Milan. There is a reason why Kevin De Bruyne is in Napoli.
Eden Dzeko at Fiorentina.
And it's because clubs in richer leagues, better leagues, don't deem them too good enough anymore. It's as simple as that. Because Real Madrid won't sell Luka Modrić in his prime to AC Milan.
I think it's the case.
Will not sell Kevin De Bruyne to Napoli if De Bruyne was in his prime. I'm really happy to see them in Italy because they could have gone to Saudi Arabia or the MLS and make a lot of money. So I have a lot of time for them deciding to stick around in a league that matters. But I'm not sold on this. Serie A is still the best league in the world because look at the players we can attract. Had you attracted Modrić 15 years ago? Maybe. De Bruyne of 10 years ago? Sure.
We all know money's king, though. So they're going to stay in the Premier League or go to Saudi first option.
Yeah, but
the ones that don't.
You're not going to show ambition by bringing a player like Immobile might get 20 goals this season, but what I'm saying, if you're talking about the direction of travel of Italian football, and Bologna are a perfectly run club, you don't show any ambition by bringing back someone who's mid-30s.
Any Bologna fans or Milan fans out there, let us know in the comments what you think of Immobile coming back, because I think he adds something. He's going to teach the other strikers a thing or two in training. So is Modrić. I've spoken to Milan fans at Chelsea the other week when they played the friendly. He's 40, but he's going to show Ricci and Jashari a few things, and all the Milan fans will tell you that. Now, of course, there's going to be a faction that don't agree. Not everyone can agree with everything.
I get what you're saying, and I love Luka Modrić to bits. It's probably one of my favorite players of all times. But what I'm saying is, you're not showing ambition as a club by bringing in a 40-year-old, no matter which way you slice it.
Sure. But if he didn't go to Milan, he probably would have gone to somewhere in the Premier League, maybe a Bournemouth or somewhere like that. Who knows? We don't know where he would have gone. But it's either he goes to Serie A, and he's not going to go to Serie A to play with, Sassuolo. We all know that. He's only going to go to one of the big guys. And of all the clubs that are going to attract him, is this one right here. I mean, every player, especially Modrić is 40, so he's in that age group that would have watched the Football Italia days with all the greats playing. Yeah. To them, it's sentimental.
But that's my point.
Yeah, of course.
It's Serie A living off its past.
Exactly.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But Modrić is still class.
Of course
he doesn't have the petrol in the tank. We all know that. Neither does De Bruyne. Yeah. And Immobile won't either. But
might live up to his name.
Where would you expect them to go if they didn't go to Serie A?
No,
is it League One? Is it a second division somewhere?
No, I'm happy for them to go back to Serie A. All I'm saying is that I think they should be part players. They shouldn't be the main
I think
Yeah.
they
Main
will be. I think De
characters.
Bruyne is there to. Okay, De Bruyne is the youngest. Let's establish that. He's the baby of the three
At 34.
at 34. Just turned 34. And there were doubts. A lot of people on social media were really going at him over some, weight issues and fitness and all those kind of things. In the friendlies, he's done okay since. So he does have the class, and I think that's why you would bring him in. And leaving City, I still think he's got at least 12 good months in him. And he might not be good for more than 25 appearances in the season, but they're playing Champions League now. They need to step up. And that's where he comes in, maybe for that Champions League run.
Of those three, De Bruyne is the one I get the most, personally.
Because Modrić has got no European commitments now. It's just turn up in Milan. I don't want to say he's going to enjoy his retirement there because he's probably got 4 years left in him. Who knows? He could do a Ribéry and end up in, Serie B. We don't know what he's going to do. And I wouldn't mind seeing him in Serie B, to be honest, but maybe not at 43, but still. These players still have something to offer, and they're going to teach the kids, and I think that's what a lot of fans are hoping for, especially given the dynamics that Serie A don't have the financial power of the almighty, the elite. A lot of people call the Premier League the Super League, and now literally the Saudi Super League is there. So they are fighting, they're having to risk, and this is what they're doing. And of course, they don't have to pay a transfer fee; they're getting them for free, and they're just paying extortionate wages. So, which Juventus came up with that model more or less as soon as with your the two signings they made 2 or 3 years back, Ramsey and Rabiot.
Yeah.
So they got them for free, but they paid 50 million over the course of 5 years. We'll say.
Yeah. I think it's, to go back to Dan's point about Bologna, I think it's painful to see Bologna lose players that Nottingham Forest and potentially Sunderland. Because, if you're talking about cities to live in, between Nottingham and Bologna, with all due respect, you stay in Bologna. But economics talks, money talks, and
The
Bologna...
Parmigiana talks. You want the food as well?
I think Forest are not a big issue because Forest are...
They got ambition.
They're a club on the up.
Yeah.
They're in Europe. But Sunderland, if Lukumi goes to Sunderland, that would be a shock. Because, I know that Sunderland have got well, but they've just come up from the Championship last season, and you're talking about a club that has been a yo-yo club in the Premier League. They've not been in the Premier League for 8 years. So, yes, they're ambitious, but they're still a newly promoted club, and you're talking about playing for them or playing for a club that has been in Europe. It's going to be in Europe for the second year running. That, again, but that goes back to the direction of traveling Italian football. You think you're losing a player like Lukumi should be much more of a talking point than signing Immobile or Modrić. That's just my opinion, but I think it just shows you the imbalance of power at the minute.
I agree. We've gone off topic slightly here because we're talking about the 8 coaches, so we'll just quickly go through the others, but these are all valid talking points, and I'm sure a lot of fans out there, and leave us some comments if you agree or disagree with something that one of us has said. Hopefully it's those two. But let's go to we're talking about ambitious clubs. Como's there, Cesc Fabregas is still there. He's one of the 8 remaining coaches. Would you take the Bologna 11 over the Como 11? Because I'm thinking Nico Paz for me and Assane Diao, they are elites now.
Yeah. If you're talking now, I would maybe verge towards Como.
Duvacas is looking good.
Because
Yeah.
Bologna have lost so many players, we don't know what the replacements are going to be like. There's a consistency there with Como. Cesc is dead. Como have kept all the main players. They've added a couple, Jesse Rodriguez. So I would go for Como as of now.
And Fabregas as a coach, you happy with what he's doing there?
Oh, I think it was superb last season.
He was linked with the move to Inter even. That it could have been just 7 remaining coaches because they were heavily
And
interested.
Bayer Leverkusen, I think, were sniffing around as well.
Get away.
They were. I think the Como have got a great shot at winning a trophy this season.
Yeah.
Because they are modern.
Are you thinking Coppa Italia?
I am. We're going to get to our predictions later, but I am. I've got them
I'd
down.
love to see one of these mid-table clubs have a tilt, like
I
Bologna.
agree. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I agree because Como are the perfect club that are clearly nowhere near good enough to win the league, but they're also far better than the teams fighting for the world.
And they can cause upsets.
Yeah.
And okay.
Go and ever go. Football is about winning trophies.
Yeah.
Go and ever go and also winning Coppa Italia is a ticket to Europe.
Yeah, it is now. It has been for a while.
Yeah.
Cup Winners' Cup even those days, but still, it's actually revered now to win the domestic cup because we all knew when we were growing up it was play the kids in the Coppa Italia. And you don't care.
The thing is though with Como, and I don't know what you guys make of this. Is there a case of Como are still sort of flying under the radar a bit. Because I think the moment if Como get into Europe, then you're going to have a lot of other bigger clubs knocking on the door for their players.
They already are. They already are.
They are already, but I think there's going to be like, it's going to be tenfold.
I think they're preparing for that. All the signings they've made, like they're not all going to get match time, and they've sent already players out on loan, not just to Serie C and Serie B clubs, to other first division clubs in other leagues. So you've got Rodriguez, Kuhn, Badurina, Perrone, they've made it permanent. Ajax Valle is also permanent. Van der Bremt, Ramon, Mazzitelli's back. I mean, it really depends what they want to do. Actually, Mazzitelli might be leaving. Correct me if I'm wrong, but still, they've turned over what they had in Serie B. They were able to use them for the first half of last season. Then they eventually dispersed of them, have reinforced, and then reinforced again almost. Like their last 3 windows have been something to really behold.
Yeah.
Especially for a club. I mean, they've got ambition. They've got the ownership group that's investing money. And I guess they are an example or a model of what other clubs want to do, but maybe they just can't do it for financial reasons. And that's where Como really pushing.
I think you look at the likes of Como, Bologna, Atalanta, probably all trying to do the same thing, being self-sustainable, investing on young players and then selling them all in Atalanta and Bologna's case. Como haven't sold anyone.
But Como, 18 months ago especially, you would never think they could sign players from Barcelona, from Real Betis,
from Man City,
Real Madrid, Palmeiras, these kind of places. Yeah. And, Morata's there now. He's
Dan's favourite.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I know we've already spoken about like.
But again, it's experience, and he may be able to teach. You don't know what he's going to do. You just we don't know what he's going to do.
But you do.
He'll be gone by January.
Exactly.
We don't know. We just don't know. And Immobile could be the same for him, but we don't know. Modrić might move on after 6 months. But I think Morata actually has a much bigger future. What is he, 31, 32-ish? I might just look that up.
Yeah.
Got the laptops out, fellas. And look, it's a loan with an option to buy or obligation, one or the other, but it still is a sign of what Fabregas is doing. And Spanish striker, Spanish coach.
And they've got Belotti
together.
back as well.
Belotti's back, but we don't. Yeah, well, whether he stays or not. But look, Diao, Kuhn, Duvegas, even Azon. I think he's moved on loan. I think he went to Ipswich. Did he?
Yeah, I think the young players they've signed they're really exciting. Baturina from Dinamo Zagreb, it looks like a real player, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that like no one's going after him, Emmet, and they've come in and identified him. I'm sure there were other people going after him, but none of the clubs that we would normally check their transfer shortlist.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's a signing that he could go in 2 years. You don't know. But I feel like he is a signing because they've maybe planning in a year's time that maybe someone else will want to leave.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's been Brighton's strategy for a while. Brighton have allowed Bissouma to go to Spurs because they had Caicedo to go, and then they'll sold Caicedo for a fortune to Chelsea because they had Baleba coming through. So I think that's what Como are doing. But I think it's going to get to a point where they go into Europe and like much bigger clubs are going to come knocking on the door.
I think there is an element of what you said, Dan, about them going under the radar somewhat. Because I actually have, I know we'll talk about predictions later, but I have Como as my surprise package. Because I don't think many's tipping them for Europe, but I generally think they could make Europe, even if they don't win a
cup. I think a lot of people are tipping them to be top 8, I'd say.
Yeah, but I think they could actually do better. Because they have that consistency, because Fabregas is there.
Well, I think they're better than Juventus, that's for sure.
So. No, don't talk crazy.
Okay, let's go on with another ambitious club that's come up from Serie B, and then we'll get to the other 3 that remain. But Fabio Grosso and Sassuolo, we've all seen what they did in Serie B last season. Yeah, and they've kept Lauriente even, who was linked with Sunderland. That move fell over at the end, and whether he stays is another story, but still they've got the nucleus of the team. Berardi's still there. What do we make of it? Fabio Grosso, and his first time in Serie A, I believe. He's won with Frosinone before.
It'll be interesting to see if he can cut his teeth in Serie A, because we've seen so many coaches over the years. They're maestros in Serie B, but they just can't make that leap to Serie A. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Grosso does. But if Lauriente stays, that'll help his cause.
They've got a really good team on paper, but it's always the same sort of the old dynamic. Like you go from being the team to beat to getting beat most weeks. So they're gonna have to probably. I wouldn't say they're necessarily going to be like fighting to avoid relegation, but it's Serie A. It's hard to say, and I think in the last 10 years, at least one of the 3 promoting teams is going straight back down.
Yeah. Well, it's to be expected in every league.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be them. I think they'll be good enough to stay up.
Yeah, I think.
But I
they
don't
will.
think we. I think I'm interested to see whether Gross is going to be the sort of player who remains wedded to the manager. Sorry, who remains wedded, committed to his style of football, or whether he recognizes that we need to be a bit more pragmatic.
I think they all change when they come up, Emmet.
Yeah, because I was just about to say Sassuolo, as we both know, scored goals for fun last year. You know, every game seemed to be 3, 4, 5. But when you go up to Serie A, you have to be a little bit more cautious, more pragmatic. So it'd be interesting to see if he makes that transition, or he kind of is wedded to an attacking philosophy, which would backfire.
I think he will. He'll choose the games to try that, and it will be against teams around their level.
The one thing with the Swallow, sorry, like normally you look at like you promoted teams coming up, have a sort of like fear factor of playing at home, try and win points at home. Sassuolo don't have that. They have, with the greatest respect, they're playing away against the Swallow. It's not exactly like
Doesn't strike fear.
Yeah, it's not an environment that like
It's not a cauldron, against them. It is against Reggiana, but it's not against.
No.
And I think that Sassuolo have a decent chance of staying up with Grosso. You just have to be better than the worst three.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that Como last season should be their model.
Yeah. And look, we all know that Sassuolo going down to Serie B was kind of a blip.
Yeah.
Berardi got injured.
Yeah.
They fell over at the end. It was kind of like Inter last season. It just ran out of petrol.
Yeah.
And then they got into a depression. That was it. They went down, they're back, and they will try and forget about that, especially that Serie A season where they got relegated. It was all positives last season and some great highlights. If you want to go check out the DCTV app, you can go look up some of the Sassuolo highlights on there. But they've kept the core of their side. They've bolstered the defense. They've got Kandé coming in, and just looking at my laptop, Idzes from Venezia and Kandé from Venezia. They've made the Muharemovic signature permanent, Juventus next-gen player. He was immense last season, and they got Nurma coming over from the previously defunct Brescia. They're back in Serie A. Chi now is Union Brescia. We've got that pot up as well. And Aliou Federa, who was great at Como, especially the first half of the season. He was brilliant.
He was good.
So they've got him. He's a wide man that can really torment defenses. So they know what they're doing. 16 million spent, 5 brought in player sales, and I feel like they've cleared out a lot of deadwood there to lower division. So I think they're going to do well. Just quickly on the last 3 sides, we're going to go Vieira at Genoa, Zanetti at Hellas Verona, and Runjajic at Udinese. I feel like these are 3 clubs that are just happy to be somewhere between 11th and 16th.
Genoa have got a good chance of improving this season. I think Vieira, in his second season at Palace, I think he improved compared to his first campaign. I think.
What's his mandate? Dan?
Genoa are a massive club.
Sure.
You need to be. I think if you're Genoa, you need to be a top half team.
So he should be trying to make UEFA spots?
I would say anywhere between 8th to 10th.
8th, 10th, yeah.
So 8th to 10th is
and
a
again,
success for also Udinese.
Yeah, again.
Verona, I don't think so. I think they're just happy to be there and stay there.
So, I think Verona. They're in sort of the bracket of like they're gonna be hoping that there's 3 teams worse than them.
And Paolo Zanetti is the coach to kind of keep them in that little scenario, the bubble of just hovering above the drop zone. Yeah. I think, and we'll get to this shortly with our predictions, I think they're in for a tough year. Yeah. And of course, Runjajic did great things in Udine last season.
Yeah.
I can't figure them out. I'll be honest.
It's another club that's just trying to make money. Potters are trying to make money.
Well, yes. I'm glad you said, because that's exactly just like they went from like, I know that the glory days of the 90s where they were in Europe every second season are long gone, but I don't know, just these clubs just seem to be like wanting to exist.
They're just there. They're not aspiring for greater things.
No, exactly.
And they're just looking to avoid relegation.
They picked up some cheap players, and they've got rid of Biol for 18 million. Samadjic, they're getting the money now from Atalanta. Yeah. It's nearly 15. Noahen Perez. Yeah. How do you say that in Spanish there? Noahen Perez. For 13.5 million. Talvin, they got him for free, sold him for 6. So they've made money.
Surely, but it's
52 million.
Yeah.
And they've only spent 27 to get in Artur Atta, and they've got a Scottish kid coming, Lennon Miller from Motherwell.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting. I mean, to see another Scottish player.
No, of course,
exactly.
Not expecting McTominay greatness, but come on.
And I did read that if Manu Kone leaves Roma to join Inter, that they will go for Soleil of Udinese. So if they lose him, because he was a good player for them last season.
Okay, and also
Aside from
Zaniolo
the
was linked as well.
alleged extra,
Yeah.
sort of like extracurricular issues that he just run into.
And Zaniolo was linked as well, whether he goes to Udinese
Oh
for
yeah,
a second chance.
that'd be a great sign.
That
I'm
would
sure.
be brilliant. Okay. I just want to bring up
The
one thing.
sincerity dripping off his voice.
I mean, come on, how many more second chances is he gonna need or deserve?
He's like Morata.
Well,
He
from
just keeps
Udinese,
him-
he can go to somewhere else in January. So,
Probably
maybe
will do
somewhere
too.
nearby. Padova with Papa Gomez, who knows? Emmet, why is your laptop closed? Are you trying to hide something from us? What are you looking up on your internet history here? Because it's been closed the whole time.
Well, it
Are you
was
trying to
just-
hide your predictions from us?
No, not at all.
Let's get into those.
Happy to discuss.
Okay, let's get into some players to look out for this season. I'll say, who are we looking for